Kapur is the founder and CEO of Siyahi, India's leading literary consultancy. Her first book, The F Word, is a food book, memoir, and a travelogue. She has edited Chillies and Porridge, writing food, an anthology of essays on food. As a freelance journalist, she writes regularly for different newspapers and magazines on social and development issues, along with travel, food, and lifestyle. She has received many awards, including the Femina Women Super Achiever Award in 2018 at the World HRD Congress, the Maharani Gayatri Devi Award for Women of Excellence in 2014, and the Karamveer Puruskar in 2009 for her work as a journalist in creating social awareness and for being the best literary consultant in the country. She curated Masala Chowk, a food court in street food in Jaipur in 2018, and was a member of the Executive Council for Jawahar Kala Kendra from November 2016 to October 2018. She is also the producer for the Women Up Summit and Soul Connect experiences and was the producer for Mountain Echoes, the Bhutan Festival of Art, Literature, and Culture. Mita is currently literary director for the JCB Prize for Literature. So, welcome, Mita, and we are so grateful that you have decided to make some time for us. We have quite a few aspiring authors who would like to pick your brain on a lot of things. So, my first question would be at 15 years old, Siyahi is amongst the oldest and most respected literary agencies in India. Uh, Tell us about how you have seen the literary landscape change over these years.
Okay, slight correction there. First of all, thank you so much for having me. It's my privilege and honor. So you don't have to be grateful. It's always good to meet aspiring writers, and that is what got me greedy, frankly. Slight correction was what I was talking about. Siyahi is almost 19 years old, not 15. Yeah, well, sorry, what was your question?
How has the literary landscape changed
Right.
over these years?
Oh, well, I think that it's changed quite radically, I would say. From a literary agent's point of view, when we began, there were practically no other literary agents in the country, like the one I would say running a full-fledged professional outfit like that. There are a couple of them were there, partly based in Singapore and partly based here, and a couple of them who also did it as a sort of a side thing. And so Siyahi became the first professionally run, fully logistically, infrastructurally supported to run an agency. What I started off with was, okay, once the industry really welcomed us, because they were possibly facing a lot of slush piles and also felt that, you know, they might have been missing out on some good writing, which we proved that yes, they were. As far as the changes are concerned, I would say in terms of experimenting with genres, definitely. A lot of uh, writing, new kinds of writing, different mediums have opened up, and that has given writers who otherwise found it difficult to get published a lot more avenues. So, and you can divide this into two. One is the tech part, how we can sell our stories and get them into audiobooks if you're not getting published into print, or we can just kind of publish on Amazon, on Kindle. All of that uh, has helped a lot many more voices reach us. And then you have platforms like Substack. I mean, come on, they've kind of just changed the game completely, right? And it really opens up our horizons. It opens up our kind of choices as far as reading is concerned. And yeah, so that is one part, the technology part. Um, the other part is when I was talking about the craft of writing and how people have been, more and more people have been brave at creating new kinds of content. So obviously there's content for digital publishing. And again, in digital publishing, there's so many kinds, right? Because now a few years back, blogs were the thing, then blogs came, and then something else happened. And now we are on to even writing for social media. I would consider that also as an art. So it's just led us to so many more, I would say, avenues, angles, so much more to explore. So it kind of unleashes your imagination, right? I think it has fueled people's imagination even more, which is fantastic because we're getting to see new kinds of writing. So in all of these things have really changed how we look at publishing and how we look at receiving books or receiving a piece of writing, how we're consuming it, it also has changed a lot. So when you become different kind of consumers, you also become different kind of creators. And that's just brilliant, I feel. There's just so much for there for you. Sometimes, yes, it becomes as if, we've got too much happening and there's just too much out there for us to absorb, or we don't have that much time, or some of it can be rubbish, of course. But then it's on you, right? You have the freedom to not partake or not be such a consumer and just stick to your purest way of reading, like I'm one of them still. I mean, I read on the screen for my work, but when it comes to my own pleasure, I will still read in the old-fashioned way. I need to smell the paper, I need to touch. So publishing also has undergone a lot of change in terms of from the publisher's point of view. They're very excited. Like recently, this whole thing of romantasy has picked up as a trend. Now everybody's looking for romantasy, or everybody's looking for horror, or everybody's looking for science fiction as far as fiction is concerned. And these are global trends, which take some time to reach India, but yes, I'm talking about global trends. Um, and uh, and you also see an influx of a lot of socio-political, um, cultural narratives being spun out, which I know are doing better numbers in India than fiction is, but it's going to change in any case. Nothing stays stable for too long. So even from the publishing point of view, we are seeing that change um, in India. The only thing you're not seeing a change in India is the way books are marketed. That remains a challenge still. And I want to see that change as well.
Okay. Um, so, talking about changing preferences, your list of authors includes a healthy mix of fiction and non-fiction, which is very encouraging for the members here. But can you tell us what are you looking for in fiction right now?
I am incidentally concentrating more on looking for nonfiction, well-researched, told like a story kind of narratives. But in fiction, as and when something comes to me, it I really don't have criteria. It's just that the first few pages have to grab you. The writing has to be really refreshingly honest. And it should be something that I don't want to get a feeling, oh, I've read something like this before. That really puts me off. And I want to see some very cutting edge writing, something very, very um, chiseled, something that kind of just goes and hits you in the gut straight up and makes you sit up and makes you think, makes you want to imagine. I want to see if it's a character-driven story. I really need to see the character come alive visually in front of me. I need to be able to correlate and see, not just read their voice. Because that's what really shows that the writers put in her sweat and blood and fired her imagination and taken flights of fancy and all of that. I need to also understand that every character in fiction has a different voice. Sometimes, writers write in a way that every character speaks in the same way. And how is that possible? It's not humanly possible. So, what of it can't you grasp when you're writing fiction, And the fiction does give you that freedom, right? It gives you a lot more freedom to escape or to hold captive or to let free. I mean, do so many things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those are things. And believe me, one thing that will put me off is the sun was setting and the birds were chirping. If it's there on the first page, oh my God, I am just, that writer is screwed. Because you've got to be more imaginative than that. I mean, come on.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not saying in just like verbatim, quote unquote, these kind of sentences, but something as cliched as that.
Okay. I hope everybody is taking notes. So there's this one question that we hear all the time, and I'm wondering, like, do you look at an author's social media and profile and what following and all that while in evaluating a submission package?
I'm still old fashioned.
Okay.
A lot of my colleagues in the industry, as well as fellow literary agents, do chide me for it. I'm like, yeah, matlab, these are transitional things. Aaj hai, kal nahi hai. I'm not going to base my assessment on how beautiful the book is or what I see as potential in the writer just because they have a few lakh followers. They can write crap, no, in spite of being very hugely popular on social media. And a book will last only if it's a good book.
So another thing is that we have seen that it takes a lot of time, and we keep telling every aspiring author that you have to be patient because everything in the publishing industry takes quite some time, whether it's just getting feedback or whether it's getting the process started and till it comes out to the stores. So why is that?
Well, see, one, you're dealing with a very creative, subjective field. Okay. And it takes time to give feedback if you really want to genuinely give feedback and you genuinely want your writers to edit properly, make it crisper. You need to go through a few drafts. I mean, not everyone gets it in the first go. There's, I think, maybe one or two manuscripts in a year out of all the submissions that come to Siyahi that I would have signed on just by reading the first few chapters. It's that rare for me. So it does require patience. Publishing processes can be hastened. The challenges we face, I think teams are very tight and time always is tight. Um, if that was rectified, then we'd be pushing out more books. But even in the international market, I've noticed it takes as much or sometimes even more time. So I keep telling everyone who's getting into publishing is please just learn patience and don't be hasty because in your hastiness, you make the worst decisions. Like, for example, I'll tell you, there's this author who's pitched her book to me from the US. And this is one, I think this is the first this year that I'm reading that I've actually liked in the first go. Although I do have some feedback, but overall, good reading experience. And I know that it has potential to sell, etc. So she called me and we spoke, blah, blah, blah. Then I gave her some feedback on the phone only. I said, get to work, do this, and get back to me once you've tightened and whatever I've asked you to do. And I want to read it again before I send you a contract. Then, on an afterthought, I wrote an email to her saying, you know what, did you show it to other agents and publishers? Then the story comes out that yes, I sent it to Falana publisher, I sent it to Dhimka publisher. And I said, you know what? What was the fucking hurry? Why can't you just wait for people to get back? Now, even if I want to take the book, I'm going to really be hesitant because the publisher would have actually half or more or less made up their mind that, you know what, this book needs a lot of work. Let's not waste time on it and move on to something that is even more readily sellable and will get us better numbers in sales, etc. I said, you weaken the agent's position completely just by being stupidly hasty. Uh, and she said, yeah, I know it's just one of those, you know, impulsive things. I said, everyone is impulsive like this. So what I'm saying is that, guys, hang in there, yeah? You worked hard at it. You've done your best from your point, your perspective. Now let the other person get back. It takes time to read. It takes time to assimilate a particular plot, a narrative, a story arc, think about it, and then kind of write back to the author and say, you need to work on this. Your sentence structures are faulty here. The pace is dropping from this transition to that chapter or whatever. It takes time for us also to assimilate all of this and put it down in writing and send it. So those kind of things, I don't know. Most authors do it. Most authors do it. Unless, they're already published and they're with me for many years and this is probably their 40th book or their 18th book or their 6th book and they know how it works. Then they'll kind of just start with saying, okay, here's my original idea. Do you think it's going to work or not work? Whatever. And then we take it from there. It's because they know they're secure in this relationship that, yes, I know I'll get feedback. And we proceed from there. Yeah.
Okay. So, CIE also has other services that they offer.
Yeah.
And can you tell us about those and how they fit into with the business of being a lit agent?
So I try and separate these two as much as possible, though it doesn't, because no author would like to separate. So people who submit to us, and there are times when, like we've given one round of feedback, and then I realized this was some few years back. I realized I said, some of these authors really need help with understanding how to edit, how to fine tune, how to chisel further. Um, how to make it tighter, give it that edge, etc., etc. Because the first couple of drafts are always very raw. So we started offering detailed editing services for which we throw in structural, developmental, creative, some bit of grammar, um, looking at everything, um, plot, character, storyline, pace, fluidity, transitions, whatever else. So we throw in and do a detailed line edit, and we throw in all these suggestions. So those, I mean, if somebody's interested, they write to us and say, okay, if we consider editing from you, what are your charges? And we send them back the charges and whatever else. And then we also do chapter-wise detailed assessment in case some author is interested. So we offer these two services. Now, for me to make people understand that, guys, it's okay. I know you're paying me for these services, but that does not guarantee that I will land up representing your work because I'm going to put my effort into this particular piece of work for the next 3 months, send it back to you. Now it's for you to download and see the kind of suggestions we've made, understand it, absorb it, and rework your manuscript and send it back to us. I'm going to give it another read, and that is the time I will decide whether you've got it up holistically and elevated it to that level that, yes, we can feel professionally confident to pitching that book out and representing it. I cannot take a decision based on that raw draft that, okay, ठीक है, आप पैसे दे रहे हो, तो मैं आपको represent भी कर लूंगी. वो मैं hard sell नहीं कर सकती. I'm not running Siyahi like a hardcore commercial business. This is a work of love and passion, a way of doing things properly, professionally for our authors. Because what will end up happening is I may hard sell just to get the money in, but I can't. My conscience does not allow me. I need to be 100% confident that I will be able to place this book. At Siyahi, we have a 96% success rate because I am so cut and dried about this. Because you know what? Today I will tell the author, okay, theek hai, I will represent you. Chalo. Even if you like, if this is in case of paid editing or paid detailed assessment. And then I keep the author hanging for the next 1.5 years because I can't find a publisher. Is that fair? I think that's total disrespect to somebody's creativity. I think it's totally dishonest of me as a professional literary agent to make them see dreams which possibly can't be fulfilled. So I rather that they dream realistically, work towards it, and then we take a call. So these are the kind of things that I aim at through the services that I provide. And every such book that comes to us as an edit or a detailed assessment is something that my editors work in the same office as me. So I'm constantly hovering, I'm constantly seeing what's happening, I'm constantly supervising. I don't let quality suffer. But I also can't see my books not getting placed. Like this year, I'll be very honest, between January and September, there are 3 books that I haven't been able to place. And I'm completely heartbroken about it because I see it as a personal failure. I don't see it as a writer's failure. I see it as my failure.
Seems like you invest a lot in any manuscript that you're taking up. So that's very encouraging for everybody. Uh,
We do. We try and give feedback to everything that comes to us, mostly.
so do you help and engage with the authors beyond publishing of a book?
Absolutely. I'm the one who nags all publishers for marketing, visibility, distribution like a nasty mother-in-law. They hate me. And we also monitor sales statements. We also make sure that we are aware of some awards, not the JCB award, because that is one avatar of mine that I have to keep completely separate for contractual and ethical reasons from Siyahi. But I keep reminding publishers, listen, nonfiction, these awards are up. Can you please send these books? So we are constantly gunning for our authors' rights. Monitoring sales statements is another ballgame, but we do that twice every year. And we make sure that our authors are aware कितनी किताबें बिकी हैं, कितनी बिकनी चाहिए थी. We pull up publishers and tell them there's something wrong with the sales figures. I need a detailed look into what went wrong, what's happening. And they have to give us explanations. They know we are watching everything. So our work doesn't finish with just getting a contract done. The author moves on to the next book, the next book, the next book. We are still monitoring all the books. Like even for Gulzar Saab, whose literary estate I'm managing, we are keeping tabs on every book's every language translation. And there are multiple translations. And this is just one author's name I'm taking because his name resonates with everybody. But there are plenty such authors whose estates we are handling. So it's like we have master sheets. We have Excel sheets with rows and rows and rows of details, with dates, with records, with everything, because we really want our authors to feel secure, you know?
I think whenever we think about publishing, we see it through a very romantic lens of telling stories that
It's
will
dirty
resonate, but
business.
but all the excels and the master sheets.
Yeah, it all
Yeah.
boils down to keeping everything tabulated. One of them can turn around and ask me, फलाना किताब की कितनी कॉपी बिकी थी फलाना साल में? क्या जवाब दूंगी मैं?
Yeah. So, because we have turned to Excel sheets, let's make it little more fun. And I'm going to ask you rapid fire questions, and you have to answer them as quickly, just with the first thing that comes to your mind.
Sure.
And for our audiences, please keep your questions ready and in the chat so that I can get to them right after the rapid fire. Okay. So here's my first question. What is the one thing that you absolutely love in a book proposal?
Crispness and clarity.
Okay. What has been the biggest high point in your career?
Oh, I don't know. I'm probably getting to it yet.
Okay. In your career as a lit agent, which is the one publisher you have placed the most books with?
You're asking me to do professional harakiri. I'm not answering that question.
I had to try.
Yeah,
If you're an author and you had to choose a lit agent aside from Siyahi, who do you choose?
hmm. That's a hard one. Because I'm friends with all literary agents, you can't do this to me. They'll kill me if they hear this. No, not answering that either. Sorry. Listen,
Okay.
we are all
Um,
buddies, yeah? I can't do this. I mean, we all sit and have meals together.
okay. So I'll come back to an easy one then. What is an absolute no-no for anybody who's sending you a book proposal?
Incorrect English, calling me dear sir. Do your
Okay.
research properly, people. Do your research. At least know whom you're writing to. It's not an egoistical thing. It just shows lackadaisical, run-of-the-mill kind of attitude. I'm not going to look at such authors.
Okay. Okay, that's all from me. I'll stop putting you in a spot now and let the participants do that for me. So
No
let's see. The
problem.
first question is from Shweta, who wants to who is saying that I'm eager to develop my voice and storytelling skills. What advice would you give to someone just starting out? And
Re-
how? Uh, I'm sorry. Can go ahead.
yeah, please.
Starting out, and how did you navigate the challenges of finding your unique style in the literary world?
Hmm. Let's do this in two parts. Read a lot. Read apart from what you want to write. Challenge your own mind by reading different kind of things, even if you don't like those genres. Open your eyes. You'll find a story literally playing out in front of you every day. whether it's orally told, whether it's in the textiles that you see somebody wearing, whether it's on the roadside, you'll see art everywhere. That's how aware and tingling your sensors have to be. But please read a lot. Don't be in a hurry. Um, to find my own voice, see, I trained as a journalist as well. So for me, narrative, nonfiction, reportage, feature writing, I've done it forever. And that's why I chose to write the F word as a nonfiction narrative. Um, it takes time to find your voice. It takes time. It takes a few drafts. I remember I hand wrote my first three chapters and I just kind of, they were sitting on the shelf behind me for a few months because I just lost the confidence somehow. And when one day my husband spoke to me and said, I'm going to write a pornographic novel and I will sell it from A.H. Wheeler at all railway stations much before you are out with your book. And I'll laugh my way to the bank. And I was like, oh my God, Jesus, this man. So he was trying to challenge me to basically pick it up and start writing again. And when I picked it up, I literally physically trashed those three chapters. And for a week, I just couldn't face myself. And then I said, okay, listen, buddy, you need to walk the talk. You keep telling your authors how to go back to their writing, distance themselves or start from scratch again, do this, do that, read aloud, whatever. So why aren't you doing that for yourself? Like, why are you being so dishonest about it? It's very easy to give advice to other people. How about living those same steps? And that's when I started again. And believe me, it just flowed. The moment you're honest with yourself, it'll all come. Just don't write from your gut, write from the depths of your, I don't know, the pit of your stomach or the depths of your heart. Or I'm not saying don't do your research and all of that, but just like,
Okay. So, Tansi wants to know how interesting do you find very diverse writers? For example, writers who experiment with poetry, journalism, novels for both adults and young adults? Or is it more useful to you when writers specialize?
see, one, I'm not looking at kids' books so much, young adults, very few. My submissions are closed for poetry and short stories simply because, again, I'm very, very paranoid about committing to authors and not being able to place them. So when I know a couple of genres are difficult, let's not promise people the moon and then not deliver. Um, as I said, I am focusing a lot on nonfiction narratives, biographies, memoirs, more. So yeah, and for my screen adaptations, I am looking for romance and coming of age. Obviously, you like writers when they specialize, right? Because that means they've really worked their asses off at getting to whichever point they've got to.
Okay. Sumanya wants to know, you mentioned new kinds of writing in terms of craft. Can you mention one or two that have emerged from the Indian landscape in the last 10 years and has become popular among readers?
One, I think graphic novels and illustrated stuff is really picking up slowly. I won't say phenomenally large numbers, but yes, there's a lot of experimentation happening there. Uh, Indian landscape, I think the last 10 years, a lot of environmental writing is really doing great. There's lots of good stuff coming out and different kinds of stuff coming out. So that is something that always catches my eye. Um, what else? I haven't seen great poetry come out. I mean, nothing earth-shattering. Some very good literary fiction also has come.
Okay.
Mm.
Purnima has 3 questions. I'll go one by one. What would you say to aspiring authors who are torn between traditional and self-publishing, considering current landscape and market expectations?
It's a very personal decision, you know, and I don't want to cut any bias towards either or, frankly speaking. Unfortunately, in a country like ours, self-publishing is still looked down upon as a non-status related kind of thing. It's not so in the rest of the world. Um, so it's again a very personal thing. I would not want to take a stand on this because, it's very easy to pass judgment on either or. And I don't think any of us are in the position of that kind of authority to pass judgment on anybody. And I'm saying this as an agent because and you'll turn around and say, but you are passing judgment on the things that you read. But please note that there are at least 2 or 3 of us reading the same submission at the same time so that we can give a sort of a balanced feedback. It's very easy for human prejudices to step in. So we are very careful, which is why we take 12 to 14 weeks to come back to even 3 sample chapters, because we all have to and we're a small team of 5 people, so we have to kind of keep juggling to see, who's going to read what first, and can we kind of synchronize, at least overlap, and before we send feedback, we talk about it and all of that. So not passing any judgment on either or. And all I can say is please don't be in a hurry, for heaven's sake.
Second question is, do you have tips for writers who want to publish books that don't fit neatly into specific genres or deviate from current trends and expectations?
I would like many more such brave souls to be out there. Please come forward. You don't have to feel as if you're a minority. We need your tribe to grow. So keep at it.
Okay. Do you have any tips for people who want to become a lit agent? Could you perhaps talk about the general trajectory for this career and any pitfalls or opportunities to keep an eye out for?
If you're looking at becoming a literary agent and making a living out of it, wake up and smell the coffee. It's not going to happen. Not in India. There is no running income. There is no revenue model. I run Siyahi as a non-profit. And I'll be very, very blatantly honest to say, because this is not my main source of income. Okay. So I have the luxury to run Siyahi. I have the luxury to pursue this as my mad passion. Because for a living, I curate food and sell it. So,
Okay.
so if you're looking at just like as a side thing, but it takes a lot of time.
Okay.
It's
So, Sangeet,
literally Monday to Saturday, I'm in the Siyahi office, and Sundays I'm running to my hotel and I'm in the kitchen from morning till night.
okay. So, Sangeeta wants to know what are the challenges that lit agents face today when it comes to finding new talent and dealing with writers in general?
You've got to be a very good people's person, okay? Because you're dealing with creative people. You have to show that respect, no matter how batshit crazy they are. You still have to be there for them all the time. So your patience, people skills, and you have to have this absolute insanity in your head to be going down this path. I can tell you that. My kids think I'm absolutely mad. But that's fine. Um, trajectory of your career, get people to come to you. I mean, come on, we are living in the day of social media. You're living in the day of networking, schmoozing. So much happens. Just get yourself out there.
Okay. Ashni wants to know, do you help fiction writers get published in international markets as well? Or is it primarily the Indian market? What advice would you have for a fiction writer hoping to publish in the international markets?
Yes, we do. We do sell world rights for fiction and non-fiction both to the international market, whether it's in America or in Europe or in England or elsewhere. But I mean, just because you want to sell abroad doesn't mean that you're going to write for a particular readership. That'll make you dishonest to your writing. So just write a bloody damn good book which will sell on its own merit.
Okay.
Also,
Uh,
that's a very idealistic answer. It's also about being at the right place at the right time. As far as international power publishing is concerned, you can get a UK or US agent or a European agent. You can split your territories. You can sign up for Indian subcontinent rights only with an Indian agent and give the rest to your other agents. So you have like 3, 4 agents. All of that is allowed. I mean, it's done. It's a regular practice. Or you can depend on your primary Indian agent to find a co-agent on her own and go via that co-agent to sell your rights to different countries. So there are lots of permutation combinations that are available. Just in your writing, please don't exoticize your story just to be able to sell it abroad. A lot of people have done that, and we see through it and we scoff at those writers.
Um, so Rashmi wants to know, how should my query letter smoothly flow from the book details to my bio so that it doesn't look abrupt?
Your bio doesn't have to be part of the query letter. You can talk about your book in your query letter. Just make sure it's crisp, hits home the point, makes the agent sit up and say, okay, this sounds interesting. And your bio you can attach separately, no? It's as simple as that.
Okay. Swati wants to know, what's currently on your fiction wish list? Something you'd be happy to see from a debut author too, and please share some of your favorite fiction authors, current and all-time favorites.
I'm, like I said earlier, refreshing writing, um, which is not verbose, adjective free for heaven's sake, no long winding sentences. Um, Anything in fiction, if it's a good story, well told, whether it's literary fiction or it's commercial or it's romance, I'm up for anything. It just has to somewhere sink in. And my favorite fiction authors, oh my God, I have so many. Um, Banana Yoshimoto, Paul Auster. Mm, my favorite food narrative writer is Ruth Riegel. Matt Haig is another one who's brilliant. Anne Patchett, I love. Um, am I missing someone? I'm sure I am.
Okay.
Yun Lee is one author that I've really loved. And this lady who wrote Pachinko, my God, what a book. Amazing book.
Okay. Mriganka wants to know, what is your view on science fiction as a genre in India?
It needs to grow, but it has to be very, very well researched and done because you're competing against a lot of science fiction writers from the world over who are marketed into India, by the way. and they're far more established names. So you're really up for something very tough. So please make your book convincing and gripping. And for heaven's sake, don't write it like a web series.
Okay. Arijit wants to know, is historical fiction sought after? For a new author, what is the upper limit of word count?
See, historical fiction, again, has to be something that hasn't been attempted till now. There's a glut of historical fiction stemming from our epics. If I see one more book like that, I'm going to just start weeping. But if you have historical narratives, I'm not talking about fiction right now, historical narratives, the way they are being done by Manu or by Anirudh Kanisetti, you know, really insightful, in-depth books like that. Oh my God, we are suckers for something like that. But
Okay.
historical fiction, just pick up something that, please, don't give me another Mahabharata retelling, for heaven's sake. Like, don't.
Okay. Ponnu Elizabeth wants to know, how much does one's bio, educational background, and experience matter when it comes to finding a publisher for non-fiction, especially books on history?
How does your bio make a difference? Your book has to convince us. I mostly, in my submissions come to me, I normally don't even open the bio. I'll be very honest. I go straight to the sample chapters. I don't even open the synopsis. I don't want my judgment getting colored. Because sometimes synopses are either too well written, better than the sample chapters they come that have been sent, or the synopsis is so badly written that, oh my God, you can just hold your head and say, oh my God, do I really want to read this? So I don't. These two things I don't open. I go straight to the submission of the 3 sample chapters, and that's what I've trained my team also to do. Guys, don't get prejudiced. It's very easy.
Okay. And we'll quickly take one last question, and a fun one from Tanzi, who wants to know, uh, how do you feel eating and reading correlate?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Why not? There's no harm munching while you're reading. I don't do it all the time. It's just because I have to watch my weight. But if you don't have to, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much
On
for
another note, yes,
yes.
even I don't break for lunch at work. So if I'm reading a manuscript while I'm eating my lunch, I continue reading. At Siyahi, we don't break for lunch. So we just continue doing what we are doing. Yeah. But thank you so much for having me, guys. And thank you so much for patiently listening to me ramble on.
No, it was quite insightful, Mita. I think a lot of the participants have pages of notes taken from this session. I at least had learned quite a few new things here today. So thank you so much. And we appreciate your presence today a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.